Detective Robles. So I wanted to ask you, through the course of your investigation as a narcotics covert detective, what is your goal when you have a case with multiple individuals in a possession case like this?
With multiple individuals,
Yes.
probably to determine possession, who fits the criteria for possession, depending on the direction of the case and what we're trying to accomplish.
So are you trying to look for one person specifically to determine possession?
No, the evidence.
Okay, what type of evidence are you looking for?
So possession would be not necessarily ownership, but in possession of it, control, physical control of it, having it on your person or within your proximity, things of that nature.
And what about, in addition to possession, what else are you looking for? What are the other elements of possession?
The other elements you're asking specifically, what are the elements of possession?
Yes.
But like I said, so not necessarily ownership. Possession would be like you're in control of it. Somebody tells you to hold it, or you have it stored in a pocket or in a backpack or in your vehicle that you're able to. You're reaching a lunging area, your gravel area where you're able to obtain it when you need.
And aside from ownership, what else is important to find out?
I'm not sure where.
So when you arrest somebody for possession, right, you have to have probable cause that they possessed a controlled substance, right? And mere ownership is not enough.
Correct.
And so what else do you need?
For field tested to build that probable cause. Marijuana being a little different, where if we see marijuana based on our training and experience, I could essentially determine that this is marijuana compared to other substances, which would need a presumptive test before we could consider it being probable.
Do you know if a field test was done in this case?
I'm aware that it was done. I don't believe that it was done on scene.
So it was done after Felipe was already taken into custody.
I wasn't the case agent for that, so I don't know when the determination or what time he was considered arrested at that time.
What about the required mental state?
The required mental state?
Yes.
Could elaborate on that, I'm sure you sure do.
So somebody can own something.
Knowing.
Somebody can own something without, or possess, right? Have it in their care, custody, and control without knowing that they have it. Would you agree with me?
I'm going to object as to it's calling for a legal conclusion and invading the province of the jury.
That objection is sustained.
So somebody that you arrest for possession, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do they have to know that they possessed?
Well, typically I asked that question after they were read their Miranda warning. You want me to go into in this particular case? No.
So that's important.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
A couple of minutes.
Okay. Here you're trying to get somebody to acknowledge possession. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say I'm trying to get him to acknowledge anything. I'm trying to figure out what the circumstances are for his possession, or why he's in possession of it, or what led us to this place that we're here talking to each other.
And in doing that, do you talk to the multiple individuals that are involved with the incident?
Those that come in, that I come in contact with, I try to get a whole picture of it.
So you spoke to the multiple individuals that were involved in this case?
I spoke to two, maybe three different individuals.
Besides my client?
That would be two others, probably.
Two others, okay. Do you remember talking to the female in this case?
I do not remember.
And we have your body worn camera. You do mute multiple times, is that correct?
Yes.
And what does your policy say about when muting is allowed?
So our policy Within my position within the department, I'm a covert detective. So I wear plain clothes and I essentially operate in a covert capacity. So our policy states that anytime I come in contact with a source or a potential source, potential confidential informant, I'm allowed to mute my body camera for the protection of that source. And also for tactics to discuss tactics with our fellow detectives, our fellow officers, so that we don't give out kind of the way we operate and the things that we do.
Would you agree that there are some points of your body worn camera that are muted where you're not talking about confidential informant?
They would be for case tactics.
So every other time you muted your testimony is that it was for case tactics.
Yes.
Even if you were talking to other individuals at the time that you muted your body worn camera?
Other officers, other detectives, or
The suspects.
anytime I was going to talk to a suspect, if I needed it, it was maybe trying to ascertain if they were interested in becoming a source or an informant.
Can you say definitively if that was the case each time you muted when you talked to those suspects?
As far as my recollection, that's what it would be.
Do you recall after you found the backpack approaching one of the individuals, not my client, but another one of the males?
Yeah.
And you approached him and told him, guess what I found in the backpack? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And so initially you approached him as a suspect for the backpack contraband.
And trying to get the whole picture to see if, and as a matter of fact, when it comes to interviewing somebody like that or debriefing somebody, it's not in my best interest to show my cards, but in this situation, giving them that opportunity, I wanted them to have a full picture of context of what we were looking at, and that's why I told them that.
And did you get an answer you wanted?
No,
And then you told him, remember that when you're doing time. Do you remember that?
yes,
Okay. And you told him you had already talked to his
Okay.
homeboy.
I'm gonna object as to hearsay and relevance as to his.
Sustained.
So the next person you go to talk to is my client, correct?
Yeah.
And do you recall telling one of the officers that you were going to go tell him you found his backpack?
I'm gonna object as to hearsay.
That'll be overruled.
Do you recall telling one of the other officers you were going to go tell Felipe that you found his backpack?
I don't recall my exact words.
Okay, would it help refresh your memory if you were able to review your body worn camera?
Yes.
Did it help refresh your memory?
Is that where you want me to stop?
Well, did it help refresh your memory?
Yes.
Okay. So now, do you recall telling the other officer you were going to go tell Felipe that you had found his backpack?
Yes.
At this point, you don't know if he's spoken to any of the other detectives, do you?
I don't believe at the time I knew whether he had spoken to anybody.
So is it possible that he did speak to other detectives?
It could be.
Is it possible that any of the other detectives already told him what they had found in the bag?
Objection, speculations.
Sustained.
Do you know if any of the other officers had spoken to him and told him what was in that bag
In that moment, or as I know today,
in that moment?
in that moment, no, I don't know.
So Felipe tells you that he understands he doesn't have to talk to you, but then he starts to tell you something else. Do you remember that?
Don't remember the specific words, but I do remember him wanting to talk to me.
Do you remember cutting him off?
Excuse me?
Do you remember cutting him off at times when he's giving you a statement?
I don't, I mean, maybe, I think it's possible.
He told you he didn't know any of the individuals that he was with. Is that right?
I don't remember specifically. I think I'd have to refer back to my video. Your color is-
Uh-huh. Doesn't go bad with your suit though.
Oh, thank you.
The help refresh your memory?
I don't, it didn't specify whether he stated he talked
Right.
about the other,
Uh,
I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah, if you'll take off the headphones now. Defense, you can ask your question.
Did he indicate to you that he knew the individuals personally?
No, he had stated that he knew of them, not personally.
Okay. Do you remember him telling you that it was the female who told him he had to throw the bag?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
So Felipe, when you're talking about what you had found in the bag, right? There's multiple times when he's telling you none of that stuff has anything to do with me. Do you remember that?
Again, I'd have to refer to the,
So there's a point of about 3 minutes when you mute your body worn camera. Do you recall that?
I do recall muting my, I don't know exactly when I did.
Why did you do that?
Again, so he was being very forthcoming with what had happened. And so I took his cooperation as maybe an opportunity to see if he would consider being a source.
Did he?
Yeah, he was, he had told me that he was interested in that. And for me personally, as a detective, I don't work with anybody who's not going to be upfront and honest with me. He was being honest, so I felt that there was an opportunity there. So we had talked about that, and that's why I needed my body.
So it's your testimony that he told you he was interested in working with you. So what information did you all talk about at that point?
We talked about the specifics of that night and why he was in possession of the backpack and why he threw it. And that he was doing it for the money. And he was helping somebody out that he wouldn't be paid until he got to Austin.
What did you talk about during the muted part of the conversation?
That's for his safety, it's something that I'm not necessarily comfortable talking in person about or in public about. He was basically providing other information on other narcotics issues or situations that he knew of.
Okay, so you mute for about 3 to 4 minutes. And then right before you mute, do you remember him saying he doesn't want to be on paperwork?
Yes, and what that means is.
And be careful because you don't know exactly what he meant by that, right?
But we talked
So
about it.
after he got out of the car, what's the next thing he's doing?
When he got out of the car,
Yeah, what's the next thing you have him do?
we talked about paperwork situation.
What's the next thing you have him do once he gets out of the car?
He volunteers to sign an acknowledgement of contraband.
And that acknowledgement of contraband lists out certain items, correct? And the first item that's listed on there is not written by him. And there's also no reference to other particles that were found in the bag. Is that correct?
I would assume so. I'm not too sure it's specific. I was present when it was being signed, but I don't know verbatim what's on there. You have a copy?
Yes, I do. My question about the form, is there information, I'm sorry, is there particles that were found in the bag that were not included in this list of items?
Particles, what you mean by,
Items.
oh, items, you said articles. I thought you said part, I'm sorry. Items, I would assume so. There's other things that are in the bag that are not listed on.
So how important was that voluntary acknowledgement form to you all charging Felipe with what you charged him with in this case?
The importance, I couldn't tell you what the importance to the case agents. I could speak for me. The voluntary acknowledgement of contraband is just another layer of what I would call admission, essentially. He's admitting to the contraband. Is it necessary? No, it's not necessary to proceed with the probable cause or an arrest. It's just another way of him saying, hey, I'm acknowledging this is what I have and I want to cooperate. And so typically we'll pull this form out when we're looking at opening up that line for him to be a source of information.
Do you remember telling him what to put on the form?
Yeah, I told him to put what you had.
Do you remember actually telling him which items to put on the form?
I don't remember exactly. Again, I have to look at the video. But I do remember telling him, hey, this is on your own free will. I'm not forcing you to do any of this. This is up to you. If you want to do it, if you don't have to do it if you don't want to. And I asked him if he understood his rights. He did. I said, you know, you can stop talking to me at any time. And he elected to continue.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Any questions?
Briefly, Judge.
It's, oh, they're all right there.
Detective, I'm gonna publish State's Exhibit number 4, which has been entered into evidence.
You have the right to remain silent, anything you can't say and will be used against you before the law. You have the right to have to talk to a lawyer, and have the lawyer present while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before the question if you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any of these questions or make any statements. You understand that? Yes. You understand you don't talk to me, right? I understand that. Okay, so tell me what happened. Yes, sir.
Okay, so on State's Exhibit number 4, who is the person in the purple that we see as an arm right here?
That's Ravens fan, Detective Ramirez.
Okay, and we heard Detective Ramirez read the defendant his statutory warnings, also known as Miranda rights, correct? And the defendant acknowledged that he understood those rights, correct?
Yes.
And you further reiterated that the defendant did not have to speak with you, correct? And he stated that he understood that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So, you know, took us, I had, they asked me to drive a car, right? So just clean car, they said it was gonna be quick, we drove from Houston. And we landed there, I took a nap right there, whatever business they had going on, it was their business, you know what I'm saying? And then, when we're about to leave, they gave me a bag, it was under my seat. And when you say that, try to cut you off, man, when you say that, who's they? You know, what do they go by? What's their name? I don't know. I don't know. I just know one dude. That's it. His name's Nate. I just know Nate. Nate? I just know Nate. Yeah. Which one?
So I'm going to pause State's Exhibit number 4. How long have you been a narcotics detective?
Approximately about 5 years.
Okay, and so what is the significance of a clean car in the narcotics industry?
So typically, if you're going to be transporting narcotics, a clean car would be a car that has insurance, a car that has the registration is not expired. All the technicalities like the lights, the rear registration light, the lights of your license plate, or you don't have a broken windshield or a crack on your windshield, something like that that would not have a police officer who's driving along the highway next to you spot you and pull you over for something insignificant or something where you're not going to draw attention to yourself.
Okay.
With tattoos? Yeah, with tattoos. Okay. He's the one that has tattoos all over his face? Yeah, he was in the hey, just drive my car down. And I was in San Antonio. And then he's gonna stay over here. And then we're gonna go get some eat over there in Austin. want me to have a clean slate, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, okay.
Did you owe him some federal or you owe him some money?
No, I needed some extra bread money, you know what
How
I'm
much
saying?
was he gonna kick you?
I don't know, and we were down to discuss it, we got to Austin, we're good.
And we just heard the defendant state that he needed some extra bread. Is that also a term known in the streets as money?
Money.
Okay.
It's Austin, but, she brought it back, and we were supposed to go leave clean, you know?
Yeah.
Wouldn't make nothing. And then, you know, like, she was like, well, you know, you guys lit up the lights, and I had to toss the bag, you know?
Yeah.
You know, we're all scared, you know, and she didn't see this curve. And
Okay, so I don't want those firefighters to get hurt. They have to pull that car out from under that hose. Is there any more dope inside that hose?
there shouldn't be no more, it's just that bag.
Is there any
like I
guns
said,
or anything in there?
There's no guns, no.
Okay,
That I know, to be honest, I don't know.
I appreciate you. being honest.
I'll be honest, if you guys, you know, I'm helping you out, we can tell you the truth. Just please just get my camera back, you know, I'm a videographer. I was just here just to film some content in Austin. And so I drove the clean car because and then I brought my equipment, you know. I was really supposed to just record some content, we're supposed to go out to eat, record some content, vlog, you know.
Are any of these guys rappers or something?
Nah, no,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to cover myself because but
So just so that we're on the same page, you were gonna come out here with them and they were gonna kick you some money, they were gonna pay you some money to drive. Yes, it's dirty, so.
yeah, that's the dirty shit. I had the clean car. Like the gray car was clean when I drove it down here, you know? You know, 'cause it was just going to the line.
Who's this girl that's with you?
I don't know her.
You don't know that
I
guy,
don't know the dude, he's the dude that doesn't have tattoos. I don't know him either.
but you know homeboy with
Yeah,
the tattoos.
I know him, you know.
Okay.
Um,
Do you know how much you had in that bag?
I don't know, to be honest, sir, like I said, none of that stuff has nothing to do with me. And
Well, it does.
yeah, well, I just know it does because I threw it back.
Okay.
But
Did you know what the contents, what inside was? Did you know that it was
like, I just know there was stuff inside of it.
stuff, you mean like what?
Like, I don't know, like I said, I just know.
You're saying you're being honest, and
No,
I'll be honest. What did you think was in it?
Probably pills, ice, you know what I'm saying, like,
So the ice from methamphetamine?
yeah, that's
Meth?
right.
Okay. What,
Okay, and so at this point, have you put any words in the defendant's mouth as to what was in the backpack?
not at all.
Okay, and so you do clarify, what does ICE mean in the narcotics trade?
Methamphetamine?
Okay, but that was out of the defendant's mouth, correct? That there was pills and ice in the backpack, correct?
I just said that by top of my head, that's about it, you know.
And so why did you throw the bag?
I'm scared, sir.
No, but why did you throw the bag? Did you see somebody behind you or what?
No, you guys lit up the car, you know.
The police cars?
The police cars,
They try to stop you?
They tried to run, you know.
Mhm.
And that's, you know, like I said, like, I just to throw
Were
the
you on the
bag.
phone at the time that you were talking, that this was all going down?
No,
So who told you to throw the bag?
Huh?
Who told you to throw the bag?
The girl.
The girl told you to throw the bag?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, and so just regarding the phone, you asked the defendant if he was on the phone during the time of the offense, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And he stated he was not?
Correct.
Okay, and in order to get search warrants for phones, you would need to have a nexus to the offense, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so that was not present here, correct? Okay.
Okay. You have any questions? Are you willing to sign a voluntary acknowledgement of contraband? Meaning that was in your possession and that you threw it?
Yes, sir.
You willing to sign that? Okay, we'll get that taken care of. Do you need it? I don't know if you need it, but if you want it, you can get it.
Like I said, I just want this. I just don't want this to show up my paperwork, sir, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
I'm telling you the truth, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, what do you know that you can help us out with?
And so what is the significance of paperwork when working with confidential informants?
So any paperwork that's done when it comes to confidential informants is done in a very a controlled environment. The paperwork that is signed is just acknowledging that he's not a police officer. That is my job to protect his identity, I'm somewhat responsible for the safety of the informant. And so it's just, essentially paperwork, laying out, those responsibilities and that he's not to, portray himself as a law enforcement officer.
Okay, and so the reason that a person wouldn't want to show up in paperwork like that is because their life could be in danger, correct?
Correct.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
If we're gonna talk about that, I'm gonna turn my camera off and then we can talk offline, okay?
Okay, and so you mute your body worn camera at this point, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's after telling the defendant that if you were going to speak about him providing any other additional information that you were going to mute it, correct?
That's correct.
And it's your testimony that you were doing that for his safety, correct? All right.
And this is the address. How many is up, right, let him. This is where he's a right, you know, picking, down his. Right here, you know, was moving the right, which is what, which is that, right? I have the right to remain silent, and I'm going to say now, say that, and my trial. Anything that will use as evidence against me in court. I have the right to if I fire to question, I will criminal records. I have the right to have more funds of fire and question. This one that the law fights. Continuation and maybe verify me that any secret proceedings I get fired, single can. Anything of this thing, no, I ain't talking to me, voluntarily breaking charges. Get to the set. That the person who was saying is you know that this is about everything. Everything informed of my constitutional rights, volunteering without any promise for cars and acknowledge the following items of country and found of the kind of stuff. On the purpose of this, at San Antonio, County, and my care custody official, and that I alone am responsible for the Robles that I have to consequence. So just look at, I don't threaten you or tell you you have to say this or that, right? Okay. And you're doing it not the bottom, what does it say here? Where? We're doing the what, like right here? Yeah. I have that's right. San Antonio, did you acknowledge that, because you're thinking throughout the back, right? You're acknowledging that the following items of contraband found over there on the premises of, we're gonna put the address, right? In the city of San Antonio, Bexar County, were in my care, custody, and control, which they were, right? And that I alone am responsible for the below listed items of contraband. So what it means is that you were in possession and control of that. You threw them out, you're claiming that this is what you had. Okay, that's what that means. So.
Okay, and so at this point, we see Detective Ramirez reading the defendant his statutory warnings for a second time. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, and you made it clear to the defendant, you asked him if you were threatening him or telling him to sign that in any way, and he denied that, correct?
Correct.
All right, and then I'm gonna play the state's exhibit.
Yeah, I want you to write what you believe to be in the bag. You write what you think is in there and how much. I can't tell you the exact size. Okay, just write a description of what it was. With the color, what were they wrapped in? They take the armory, I see some bags. What the color of the pills were? I see some. How many pills do you think, like just an estimated guess? You're talking about 3, if I'm being 50, 100? I'm being 100% honest, so like I don't know.
I told you to be honest, I'm being honest with you, I don't know what to talk about.
So what else was there in the bag? So there's meth. You agree there was meth in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you agree there was pills in there?
Mhm.
Was there any weed in there?
Right,
Okay, marijuana, weed. Okay. What else is in there? What color was the bag? Put that on there. Blue and red bag? Yes. Okay. What kind of bag was it?
And so at this point, you've asked the defendant, does he agree if there was methamphetamine in there? And he said, yes, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and anything else that you mentioned, it was stuff that he had already told you, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so we see the defendant writing this out in his handwriting, responding to what you're asking him, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, and earlier, we did see you explain the form to him and what possession means under the law, correct?
Yes. Okay, was it a satchel? Was it a backpack? What was that? Backpack? And what did you do with the used suspect? Somewhere. What kind of vehicle was that? Give me a big sign right there.
Okay, do you know what the street value for methamphetamine is currently?
Objection to relevance.
It goes
Of
to
the
the,
relevance.
it goes to the intent to deliver and the defendant's motive for delivering the narcotic.
All right, overrule.
You can answer.
So generally, it's gonna go based on the region or the locality of, to determine the price because of its availability. But locally, here or Houston, you're looking at anywhere from $20 to $40 for a gram. 3.5 grams for an eight ball. Anything over an 8 ball, in my experience, I would consider not personal use. Anything under than that, I would consider personal use.
Okay. And do you know what the street value for fentanyl is currently?
That fluctuates so much that I couldn't give you, again, and that's availability and region.
Okay. Now in your experience as a narcotics detective, what is the significance of the word trap and trap house in the industry of narcotic distribution?
Objection to relevance.
Relevancy.
Judge, the defendant's Instagram is Trap Visions, and so I think the jury needs to be aware of the meaning of that.
All right, that'll be overruled.
You can answer.
So a trap or a trap house is indicative of a house for storage. Typically, in my experience, people will rent out a place or sublease a place so that it removes their name from any type of documentation that identifies them as having a financial tie to the place. And typically it's stored there, sold there. You got a lot of traffic. And it's usually a rundown house is a trap house.
Okay, and in the narcotics industry, what is the significance of the word dope?
Dope is
Objection to relevance, Your Honor.
Relevancy.
Well, Judge, the prior witness testified that the word dope house on the defendant's Instagram wasn't associated with narcotics use, so
Overrule.
you can answer.
so dope is in a law enforcement perspective, it's narcotics, and it could be any marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamine, anything dealing with narcotics is dope.
Okay. And so earlier there was some mention that you told another officer that you were going to tell the defendant that you all found his backpack. And so why would you do that?
Just to check his brass, if he's being honest, or he could dispute that if it's not his bag. I wanted to see what his position was, what he was gonna say.
Okay. And did you earlier state that you want him to be able to make a decision based on all the facts that you were aware of on that?
Yeah, so typically, when I'm gonna work with somebody, as far as this first, I want them to make it, because it's a very sensitive situation, and I want the person to understand the whole context of it, and for him to make a decision whether he wants to talk to me or not. I know I'm an officer and he's on the other side, but, we're people, and, I want to make sure that he understands what he's doing, and so that was the reason for that.
Okay, we pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, defense.
Yes, Your Honor. So Detective Robles, when you're reading the statement to Felipe, do you notice him looking around and not paying attention to the sheet that you have him filling out?
Are you talking the portion where we're on the hood of the vehicle?
Yes.
I mean, I'd be speculating,
No,
I'm not
it's
really
not.
paying attention to what he's looking at. I was trying to give him instructions.
How are you not paying attention to him if it's your goal to make sure that he understands what he's signing?
What I mean is, like, I'm not looking at where he's looking, I'm trying to, explain the form to him.
And you explain the form as signing this form just means that you had the bag with you, correct?
I said, no, I explained it to him, he's acknowledging that he was in possession, and I asked him to write what he was in possession of.
And do you recall him, in response to you telling him what to write, he's going along with it? Do you recall him saying, mm-hmm?
I don't recall.
Do you recall when you said weed and there was weed, he said, maybe, I don't know, let's put it in there.
He said, let's put it in there, or I said, let's put it in there.
He said, I don't know, maybe let's put it in there after you told him weed.
I'm not, I don't recall the.
Okay. I'm gonna play State's Exhibit, whatever, 4,
Yes.
at 1:31:15.
Was there any weed in there? Marijuana, weed?
Does that refresh your memory?
Can you turn it up just a tad?
Sarah, what if I'm turning it
Well, if you give me the mouse, I can.
up?
Was there any weed in there? Marijuana, or what was his, I can't understand his response. Do you know what his response
Yes.
was? I don't.
Well, we'll let the jury hear it when they go back to review.
Okay.
So during these statements, has he received any medical attention after the crash?
I know there was an ambulance that was, called out there. I don't think that he, I don't know if he was looked at before I attended to him or not. I'm not too sure.
That had been important to get him medical attention first before speaking to him?
Sure.
They keep stating to you that he was driving a clean car. Is that right?
He described a clean car from Houston.
Okay, and could it be possible that that meant that there were no intentions to possess any drugs or anything illegal?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
During that muted conversation, did you tell Felipe how much time he was facing?
No.
You didn't tell him that he would face up to 75 years for the contraband that was found?
Not that-
And you didn't tell him that he would be the one getting charged with all the contraband?
I might have said that. I'm not sure.
Did you indicate to him that you could help him if he cooperated?
Yes,
And you said you took that cooperation as an opportunity, correct?
correct.
Are you aware that only $20 was found on Felipe?
No.
So this much drugs, if you can't pin possession on somebody, what do you do?
We would place it in the property.
Do you charge somebody?
If you can't pin it on somebody, no, you wouldn't charge anybody. I don't.
So with this many, with this amount of drugs, it's possible that you didn't have to make an arrest that night.
It would be possible, yes.
Have you ever done that with that many drugs? Not made an arrest?
When somebody is going to cooperate, yes.
Have you ever not made an arrest in a case with this many drugs?
I'm gonna object as to relevance.
What's the relevancy?
It goes to the officer's investigation in this case and whether or not it was completely unbiased and impartial.
All right, that would be overruled. You can answer the question.
Repeat your question.
In a case with this amount of drugs, have you ever not made an arrest?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
No further questions, and he's excused by the state.
All right, thank you. You may step down, leave the microphone.
Yes, I know. Take it.
Any other witnesses?
Yes, Judge, may I approach briefly?
Yes.